Grand dawning, great rising, Cleveland, Ohio, and the rest of planet Earth. Welcome to another edition of 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 WERE. 360 Info Network is brought to you by the Cleveland Observer, and their mission is to inspire, just as our mission is to inspire. And we are very grateful and happy to have this new collaboration with the Cleveland Observer. We have a few announcements that we are going to make. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce you to the founder and the creator of 360 Info Network, Brother Lynn Hampton, also known as Hamtonio. Brother Hamtonio?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Brother Insta. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We glad you guys was able to tune in. Like I said, we appreciate you going with us on this journey of discovery of who we are, and what we should be doing. You know, as always, I say what you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. What you think of yourself depends on what you know of yourself, and what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told. And that is a key issue when we're dealing with African Americans around the planet, what you've been told about yourself. And that's why history and things of alike is so much important. So we got a great show for you today. So stay tuned and tell everybody to stay plugged in and follow us also on our Facebook page, our YouTube channels, and LinkedIn.
All right. Just a couple of announcements we want to make. If you don't know, tomorrow is the homegoing ceremony for our dear brother John Omar, who transitioned recently. It's going to be held at the Phyllis Wheatley Association tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So if you'd like to honor the brother, you can fall through and take in that observance. Also want to let you know about a Kwanzaa that's going to take place on the 31st of December. That's the last day of the year. It is the Kuumba commemoration, and it will take place at Kings and Queens of Art. That's 1385 East 34th Street, down there between St. Clair and Superior. It is sponsored by Kings and Queens of Art and Larchmere Cultural Art. So if you are observing Kwanzaa and you want to observe Kuumba, you are definitely welcome to join us at Kings and Queens of Art. As Brother Hamtonio indicated to you, we have a fantastic show planned for you because we have one of the most influential people on the planet. His name is Dr. George C. Fraser. He's a prominent figure in networking and Black economic development. He's known as Black America's #1 networker by Black Enterprise. The mission is to increase opportunities for people of African descent by fostering powerful relationships, wealth creation, and business growth. They host the annual Power Networking Conference and Expo. They offer seminars, coaching, and resources. And he runs online platforms like Power Networking and the online magazine. The impact facilitates millions in business for its members, and it has created thousands of jobs through its network, impacting over 1 million Black professionals annually. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome aboard Dr. George C. Fraser. And above everything else, I would just like to mention that he is a Clevelander. He's a very good and dear friend of Dr. Qua David Whitaker, who makes several appearances on our show. He's actually over in Ghana right now, enjoying the sunshine and the heat, and his residence next to the Gulf of Guinea. But we'd like to welcome to 360 Info Network, Dr. George C. Fraser. How are you today, brother
I'm
George?
doing good, Vince. Ham, you guys look healthy, wealthy, and wise. It's an honor. It's an honor to be sitting before you, and I want to congratulate you on the great work that both of you have been doing, especially with this program and the commitment to doing this on a regular basis. It's what we need. You have done exactly what I preach and teach, and that is we have to connect, grow, and then prosper. But for the most important thing, and that is to earn, learn, and return. So we have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. And therein lies our challenge. Is nobody going to save Black people but Black people? It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. So who in the hell are we waiting for? We're waiting for us.
Right, right. Yeah, good point. Good point. I like that. And return, and people don't understand that's all culture and African philosophy. About returning and giving back, and doing the Sankofa and success, turn around and teach one each one type of thing.
That's right.
Yeah, but we appreciate you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for all your work that you've been doing around the country. Uh, we really appreciate that. We and finding your purpose in doing that. But I'm kind of interested in wondering some of the things, some of the issues or flaws, if you might say, that some of the black businesses tend to. Is there any commonality that you have found in your research in dealing with black businesses across the country? What is something common, and it's something that you can let our listeners know that may be interested in starting businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why am I not surprised? Great question, deep question. Yeah, I've done lifelong research on it. I wrote a book uh, uh, about almost 30 years ago called Race for Success: The 10 Best Business Opportunities for Blacks in America. In fact, this is a copy of the book, Race for Success: The 10 Best Business Opportunities for Blacks in America. And remember, that was almost 30 years ago. Now that has evolved a bit. But if you read this book, it would be like I wrote it yesterday.
Mm.
So let me start by saying that building your own house is far more effective than trying to get someone to treat you better in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So we must build, no question about that. Now, a couple of facts to give context to the comments that I'm going to make about Black-owned businesses. Today, in the most recent study, there's studies that come out about every 4 to 5 years on business development by cultural group. This study is between 2017 and 2020, and it's by the U.S. Census Bureau. And at that time, we had the most number of Black-owned businesses ever in the history of Black people in America. We had 3.7 million Black-owned businesses. Now, come 2020, with the pandemic, a huge percentage of those businesses were lost. And you'll understand why in a moment. That number, 3.7 million Black-owned businesses, was up about 35% from the study before that. We were at 2.6 million businesses. So we had about a 35% increase over about a 5-year period of time. Now, surprise, 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 most of that increase came from Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So of the 35% increase, probably 25% of that increase was because Black women entered into the entrepreneurial, let's call it, workforce. Now, that's the upside, enormous growth. What's the downside? So I'm going to answer your question. Of the 3.7 million Black-owned businesses at that time, only 161,000 of those businesses employed anybody. That meant that 3.5 million of those businesses were sole proprietorships, and those are the businesses fundamentally that took the biggest hit during the pandemic. Now, businesses that employ, Black businesses that employ people, their average annual revenue was about $3.3 million a year, right? And that was up 17% over the last 5-year reporting period. So those businesses were growing and they were employing our people. All right. So that means 3.5 million or 2.5 million businesses were sole proprietorships, but even sole proprietorships over that 5-year period was up about 125%. Now, what's the upside of that? That we are beginning to think more entrepreneurially, and more brothers and sisters decided that, again, it's building our own house is much more effective than trying to get someone to treat you better in their house. All right. So that's the upside of that. Um, but the downside of that is those sole proprietorships were averaging about $20,000 a year in business. So that's almost like a side hustle, Ham, right? Um, and actually, that number is actually below the poverty line. So it says to us that most of those were side hustles. Most of those were businesses that we there was something that we liked to do when we, you if you were great at making sweet potato pies, right? You'd make 50 of them, and you'd sell them to the in the neighborhood. All right, so there were side hustles. So we have serious work to do in building businesses that employ our people, because the number one goal of any cultural group is to create work and jobs for their own people. Ultimately, I'm hoping that by the end of the 21st century, that we will become the number one employer of our own people. Jews is the number one employer of Jews. Asians are the number one employer of Asians. East Indians are the number one employer of East Indians right here in this country. So that's sort of a 30,000-foot statistical view of what business building looks like in our culture. What is the biggest problem? That really was the essence of your question. Um, the biggest problem is not opportunity. There's unlimited opportunity. We actually live in the best country you could possibly live in for business and entrepreneurial opportunity. So that's not the problem. The problem is what I alluded to. Ours is the ability to build capacity to take advantage of these unlimited opportunities. How do you build capacity? You build capacity through effective networking, understanding the power of the human connection, where 1 + 1 has to make 11 and not 2. So the future of productive and enriched and businesses and growth of businesses will be for us. And I said this in Success and Race for Success will be strategic alliances, joint ventures, and partnerships. That
Mhm.
there is no success that you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own by yourself in a
Mhm.
vacuum. You've got to do it with and through other people. That means that you have to build relationships, right?
Mhm.
Because you do business with other people that you trust,
Mhm.
right? That you know, that you respect. That means building. That's why if I'm known for any niche, it's the power of the human connection. It's effective networking. In fact, there's a biblical passage that speaks to this.
Mhm.
This is not something Dr. Fraser made up. This is this is biblical law. John 5:30, a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Now, the 800,000 words in the Bible, only 1,200 of those words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. And what did Jesus say in John 5:30? I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God.
Mhm.
He couldn't get it done on his own by himself. So what's up with you? Why would you think you can do anything worth talking about on
Mhm.
your own by yourself in a vacuum? So you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I've said this 1,000 times. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. That will tell me where you're going. That will tell me where your head is at.
Mhm.
So The most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be your computer and it will not be AI, although AI is all that in a bag of chips. It will be your relationships. You don't build a business, you build your people, and your people build.
Build the business.
That's really how it works. Why? Because business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. But the business you're really in is the business of building relationships. And friends are the gasoline in the tank that gets you there. So friends are critically important because it's God's way of apologizing for your relatives, right? You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your relatives, right? Now, God bless you if you can build a business with your relatives. That's a beautiful thing. And there are many examples of that. But at the end of the day, you have to stay away from still people. I've said this 1,000 times. You have to stay away from still people.
But
Still
Doc,
people.
let me ask you a question, Doc.
Yeah.
You kind of validated something that I've been pushing for a long time, because what that sounds like to me, and I know about some of the issues that we have as far as business is concerned, not trusting one another, not on, you hear that all the time, not on the same page, not trusting, not supporting. To me, one of the key issues to alleviate those issues, and it was one of my questions I was going to shoot to you down the road, was culture. When you mentioned the Jews, I always say that glue, because everybody don't like everybody. Jews, all the Jews don't like each other, all the Asians don't like each other.
Every culture group, that's right.
That's right. But they all have a common thread that brings them together and makes them respect each other and do business with one another, is culture, in my beliefs. What's your thoughts and take on that?
You nailed it, Hap. I mean, exactly right. As you know, living in Cleveland, Cleveland is the 5th largest Jewish population in the world.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, no. You look at a lot of the businesses in Cleveland is Jewish. All right. And for years, I had a cabal, a group of very good Jewish friends. I still have them. And we maybe once a month, because they meet at Corky when Corky and Lenny's was open.
Okay.
They would meet at Corky and Lenny's, about 10 of them, for breakfast. Right. So I would join as a guest maybe once a month, just precisely for what you're talking about, because I was interested in their mindset and their culture and what made them such good business people. Right. And they are of like mind. And what I noticed is when we completed the breakfast, how we would give a high five or we would shake or we would hug. They don't do that. They would say to each other this: "Nem the geld, nem the geld." That's what they would say. And I used to wonder, and I asked a Jewish friend, "What does nem the geld mean?" He looked at me. He means get the money.
Oh.
That's what it meant. That's their greedy. Get the money. Nem the geld. So we say, "Hi, what's happening, bro?" No, they say nem the geld. Get the money.
That sounds like some positive affirmations, almost like
every day. Right. Get the money. Do the right thing, but get the money.
Wow.
Right. So it's enculturated in them.
That's what I'm talking about.
Then I don't have to tell anybody listening to this broadcast or watching this Zoom. They work together. Right. And the old stats. I mean, money circulates in our community for about 6 hours. And in Jews, it is 12 days. Right. They support. It's the Jew first. It's the Jew first. If there is a service needed by another Jew, they're looking for a Jew first. right?
That's the
And
problem.
you can't hate on them for that. Why would you hate on them for
Right,
that?
right, right.
It should be black first.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But they
So
have
see, but Doc, here's the issue though. That's why I say culture is so important, because you often hear black people talking about, I tried to deal with a business owner and he did this, didn't treat me right, black people this, black people that. But I'm circling back to that culture. If we was culturally sound as a people, that black business wouldn't that negative black business owner wouldn't be able to prosper in our community, because the word would get out about his shady dealing or his bad business practices, and nobody in the community would deal with him again. But and that brings me right back to the culture again, because you wouldn't be allowed to do the things that you those bad business practice if your community was culturally sound, because the word would get out not to deal with you. And then I like what Dr. Claude Anderson said one time, and he said, quit looking at race as a color, look at it as a competition, because the Asians is trying to get as much as they can for the Asians, Hispanics trying to get as much as so that means that you're looking at it as a team. This is a team effort. And just like you said that what the Jews say, that's saying, all right, rah, 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 let's go get the money, y'all.
right. That I mean, you answered your own question. It's
Yes.
beautiful. And I'm glad you you expanded on it precisely.
Hmm.
Precisely. So we're so caught up in a lot of bullshit. Entertainment has a dramatic influence on us, and we see this kind of stuff. It's and I tell brothers and sisters, when you watching television or you looking or you're addicted to your cell phone and you watching that crap on the cell phone, what is that called? What is television called? It's called programming. That's what you're watching. You're watching programming,
That's right.
right? So you're being programmed to hate yourself or to hate another black person. You're being programmed when you look at how we are. You look at the crap that's on social media that falsely depicts what we think is important, what is of value. No, that's programming. That programs self-hate and lack of trust, because you just sort of shaking your head, but we are consuming it, and therefore we are programming. So in a sense, we are hugely responsible for our own self-demise,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you lack consciousness, to your
Come on.
point,
Come
right?
on.
You
Yeah.
lack
Mhm.
consciousness
Mhm.
necessary to love, respect, trust, honor, and do the right thing. Right?
Mhm.
You know that nobody has to teach you the right thing. You know what the damn right thing is. You go to enough church, right? We're the most
Right.
church-going religious people on the freaking planet,
That's right.
right? So you
Mhm.
sitting up in church, you know what the right thing is. You just choose not to do it because you're either being slick or you don't, you haven't learned, or it hasn't been modeled, or you don't have the right people around you. I had, as we were talking before the program, I had a Dr. Qua David Whitaker in my life for 60 plus years. I'm going to do the right thing. Me and my business partner went through a rites of passage with Dr.
Mhm.
Whitaker 40 years ago. I wrote about it in Success Runs in Our Race, right? So we learned, and it was modeled for us to do the right thing, minimally for your own people,
Right.
minimum. Right?
Mhm.
So we have a mind problem.
Yes.
That's what we have. And
Yes.
Claude Anderson, who I love, Dr. Boyce Watkins, who I love, they have the level of consciousness. I have the level of consciousness because it was modeled for us and it was taught. And I listened and I learned, and I modeled the behavior that I
Needed.
garnered from
Mhm.
people who were around me.
Mhm. Yeah, that goes about your circle, because you always talk about that circle of friends and people that you be around. But you know what I marvel at, Dr. Fraser? I marvel at, you know, because I love staying on the culture piece. That's what I preach all the time is the
That's right.
culture
And you
piece.
should be.
Yeah, yeah. And so I marvel at back in the day, what was the success when Dr. King, I marvel at us for like over a year abstaining from riding on the bus. Our people actually done that for over a year where you can't get, them to boycott for 4 days or 2 hours somewhere now. But I want to ask you the question on that success. Or how did he do that? Was it because of necessity? Did we have some of our culture left, or a combination of both? What's your thought?
Okay.
Mhm.
I love it. A great boy. Great questions. You guys are brilliant. Let me start it with if the fish stinks, look to the head. It's leadership. Leadership. So back in the day, we had a King, we had an Andy Young, James Farmer, Stokely Carmichael. Leadership. We had leadership. Yes, it was necessity, but you need the right leadership. You need the right words. You need the right courage. These folks had courage. I mean, help me understand who has replaced Dr. King in our culture today.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? Who has replaced an Andrew Young in our culture today? Who has replaced a Stokely Carmichael in our culture today? Right? So we're lacking the kind of conscious, righteous, risk-taking leadership. And so we had that, we got that done because our leaders our leaders were out there not only talking but participating in the actions that we were taking. That's Dr. King was killed, and I mean John Lewis. When you look at what they went through, they weren't just pontificating ad nauseum, right? They were participating in it. They were leading the march, right? So let me say this about that. This is the new thing that I'm on. Leadership in our culture cannot be top down. It has to be bottom up. You are the foundation of the vision, mission, goals, and objectives, right? With a weak foundation, a house will fall, but it will not fall with a leaky roof. But a foundation, a cracked foundation, without that, it's going to fall. So we must lead from the bottom. What does that mean? It means that we have to, at the foundation, push up, train, develop consciousness, and push the people who are, in fact, doing the work, push them to the top. And then enculturate them with the idea that once they get to the top, Hamp and Vince, they must now return back to the bottom and rinse and repeat. There's a gap there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it happens in the Jewish community. It happens in the Asian community. It happens in the East Indian community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When those East Indians or Asians come to this country and to start a small business, most of the time in our neighborhood, okay, they are funded by those who have gone to the top. They come here with some shekels or some money
Mm-hmm.
or some yen, right? And that's how those who made it in their culture to the top fund the ones who are trying to get to the top. Right? So they understand exactly what both of you are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
well, Doc, before we go to the break, we're about to take a quick break.
Okay.
But what you said, I want to just say this real quick because it'll take about 30 seconds. Our good brother Booker T, High Walter Common, he said this to me. He said, because we always calling ourselves crabs in the barrel. Mm-hmm. And he said, but a crab in its natural environment would stack on top of each other, and the top one would feed. And after the top one is fed, he will fall off the top
That's
and
right.
burrow his way up underneath the bottom of the
That's right.
bottom crab and
You
push
got it.
the next one up to
That's right.
feed. You
That's
know,
right.
and that's that reach back situation, and that's a culture. That should be an instinctive behavior for Black folks, but we know the trials and tribulations that don't cause a lot of that disconnect, as far as Black folks is concerned. But
Programming, man, programming. I'm telling you, it's
yeah,
programming is powerful. When you come back, I want to give you a quote by Stokely Carmichael
okay,
that changed my life
brother Vince.
or informed my life.
Yes. And before we step away, I just want to kind of rewind a little bit because you talked about a couple of books that you've written, and you've written a book called Race for Success: The 10 Best Business Opportunities for Blacks in America. I looked it up, Dr. Fraser, and that book is selling for $505 now on Amazon. I think
Wow.
there's one copy
Right?
left.
Right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly. So anybody that bought that, because it was a bestseller back in the day when I wrote it, you got a fortune on your hand.
Yeah.
A fortune. Yeah, the
Wow.
book is
Wow.
extraordinarily valuable.
Yeah, well, just a quick question. Has anything changed about those business opportunities since the time you wrote that book and today?
No, no, because in the book, I also wrote about the. Now, remember, this was almost 30 years ago. This is before tech was all that in a bag of chips, right? And but there was tech. This is actually even before the internet. To be honest with you, but I understood that they were developing technologies that was going to change the whole dynamics of interaction, and one of the areas that was in a huge opportunity is to pay attention to technology, adapt to technology, and leverage it to take your business into your life and your family to the next level. Now, we were not talking about AI 30 years ago. We weren't even talking about the internet 30 years ago, but there were signs of it, right? There was lots of conversations about what's coming, right? And we couldn't even imagine today. I couldn't imagine today that it would be where it is today, 30 years ago. But I knew that it was going to be important. Why? Because all of the information that I was doing the research on was that white folks were putting billions of dollars into this new thing called the internet and technology. Right. And now, white folks don't put serious money into any damn thing unless they know something.
They don't believe me. They
They can
know
get it
something.
back and 10x it.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay. Well, if anybody out there has deep pockets, you might want to make an investment in that book. Something tells me it's going to be worth a lot more than $505 in the very near future.
That's
We're
right.
going to step away for a few moments and get a word from our title sponsor, the Cleveland Observer, and we will be right back after this.
Cleveland has stories worth telling and voices that deserve to be heard. That's why the Cleveland Observer is proud to sponsor 360 Info Network with Vince Robinson and Antonio on AM 1490 WERE, where truth, culture, and conversation come together. Each week, host Vince Robinson and Antonio open the door to powerful discussions, from the arts and community history to the issues shaping our neighborhoods today. And the Cleveland Observer is right there with them, shining a light on the people and movements building a stronger Cleveland. Tune in to 360 Info Network and visit cleobserver.com to read, watch, and share more stories that inform, inspire, and unite our community. Because together, we are Cleveland's voice.
The Cleveland Observer is still doing things in a big way right here in Cleveland, and it's not just local, it is also international news. So I invite you to go to cleobserver.org and check out the Cleveland Observer. If you're just joining us, this is 360 Info Network. Our guest today is Dr. George C. Fraser. He's the founder of FraserNet Inc. They host a power networking conference. They just had one last month. and they're gearing up for the 25th anniversary coming up next year. And the internet stuff will be coming out in the very near future. You want to plug into that. Dr. Fraser brings some of the most influential people on the planet, not just the country, but on the planet, to those conferences. And as a result, as you heard in the bio that we read at the top of this program, many people have been affected. Many people have enjoyed a certain modicum of success because they have been connected to Dr. Fraser and all of those who are in his realm. And he said something really important at the beginning of the show. He was talking about how you can really gauge a person's value by the 5 friends that they surround themselves with. So this is just a note to those of you who may be challenged with respect to those who are in your inner circles. You might want to step your game up. You know, I've learned as a musician, Dr. Fraser, that one of the best ways that you can sound good as a musician is to surround yourself with folks who are way beyond your level of talent. I've ridden that one until the wheels fall off of this vehicle, so I will continue to do that, and I really appreciate your sage advice. Brother Hamtonio, you have a follow-up question for Dr. Fraser.
Antonio,
He was going to give us that. He was going to give us.
Antonio, yeah. Let me just say one thing, because I wanted to just bring this to the attention of folks. You talked about what was in Success Runs in Our Race. What were the 10 best business opportunities? So, by the way, the book was written in 1998. So here were the 10 best business opportunities for Blacks in America. This is almost 30 years ago. Okay. Education and training. That we would need, all kinds of training to get to where we needed it. So it was a huge opportunity to build business that focused on things that were about informing us and training us, not just talking about it, but putting systems for training. The next one was finance and banking. That speaks for itself. The next was small business development. So people listen, that certainly has happened. The next one was technology, cashing in on the digital revolution. The next one was publish or perish. Write. If you do nothing, write your own damn story so that your great grandchildren could read and learn from the lessons of your life 100 years from now. The next one was rebuilding our neighborhoods. This was about what? Regentrification. Now, who has rebuilt our neighborhoods? Everybody but us, right? And now you can't even afford to move into those neighborhoods, right? And the other one was entertainment. The focus there was we must own our own stuff, not just write it, produce it, and sing it, but we must own it. We don't own it. Hip hop is a worldwide phenomenon, billions and billions of dollars, but we produce it, right? We create it, but we don't own it because we don't own the distribution systems for it. All right. So, and then sports, right? Kicking down and the remaining doors in the ownership of sports, right? We are the players, we are the stars, but we don't own it, right? There might be one professional of the big 3 professions, 1 or 2 teams owned by Black folk. But the most of those teams, we are just on the plantation. Now we're being well paid, better paid than we've ever been paid before, but we're still on the plantation because we don't own it.
Well, you know the quote on that, Doc. Fool and money soon part. So just because you got the money, that don't mean anything. But Doc, he was about to give us a quote from Stokely.
Yeah,
he's got 2 more businesses he wants to let us know about.
Yeah, and I just want to give you some sense of where I was going back then. How I knew all that stuff was just research, and I was just deeply interested in where are the trends and what should we be focusing on for the next 30 years. So that was written 30 years ago. All of it turned true. Now, this is a quote. I was actually born in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. And I was running the streets of Harlem. This was I was 17 years old, so it was 1962. I was running the streets of Harlem, and I was on 125th and Lenox, and there was a young brother on the corner. I didn't know who he was, but he was literally on a soapbox. It wasn't Malcolm X, right? And he started talking, and he gathered a crowd like you would do on 125th Street and Lexington Avenue. And here's what he said, and this went so deep into me that it basically informed my entire life. My deeds of my life reflect what Stokely said on that corner in 1962. He said that no Black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle. We make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Thus, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you.
Wow. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was as true then as it is
Mhm.
right now in this moment. We owe future generations or succeeding generations. We are
Mhm.
standing, when we say it in a simple way, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We talked about that back in the day when we boycotted a bus company and put them out of business.
Mhm.
So yes, that is really the essence of who we must become. We're not there yet. We're closer than we've ever been, but we
Mhm.
still have a long way to go.
Mhm.
Dr. Fraser, you brought up the idea of boycotts, and I know that just looking back, Dr. King was really a proponent of doing that. I think
Yes, he was.
he kind of tempered his idea about nonviolence just based on how he was affected by violence during his life. But one of the things that was responsible for them finally taking him out is because he was able to use the boycott effectively. You fast forward to 2025, we've got the boycott of Target. We've got other boycotts that have been in place and have been effective. What can you say has changed between then and now? And what kind of momentum do you see gathering in our population as we look to make more of an economic impact? Because you said it at the top of the show, you know, the money only circulates in our communities for 6 hours, and then we give it back to them. I was also thinking about the fact that you were around during the heyday of the Black Wall Street that existed on East 105th Street, and then integration came in, and then, as Antonio says all the time, you know, the white man's ice is colder than ours, so we go to the white man instead of doing it ourselves, and then that whole dynamic of us doing business with each other dissipates. So I'm just wondering, in what you see now, do you see any type of movement towards Black folks being more engaged in business and taking our economic status more seriously?
Yeah, we are inching closer. But the deeper question that I have to ask, but answer all the time is, Dr. Fraser, how long do you think it will take for Black people to level the playing field? If
Mhm.
you would put a number on it based on your thinking and your deep investment in the culture. And I said, well, I want to say the next thing and still be loved. We didn't get this way overnight. It took generations to get this way. We're not going to solve it overnight, but we're moving in the right direction. But I think,
Mhm.
just based on my research, it will take us another 3 to 5 generations. In other words,
Mhm.
it could take up to 100 years. There's
Mhm.
just going to have to be some Black people that die, right? I mean, I don't mean we're going to kill them. They're just going to die of natural causes, and then work on young folk and to instill in them and model for them the level of consciousness that both you, Vince, and Hamp, and myself, and others, and Dr.
Mhm.
Winter and others, and Claude Anderson. It will just take time. It will take 3 to 5 generations. So I would say that we are in the the second generation of advanced thinking, right? And so, by virtue of the fact that we're having these kinds of conversations on, let's call it mass media, every single day. Every single day. As I told you earlier, Vince, I'm getting, 15 requests for doing podcasts a week.
Wow.
A week. I wouldn't get anything done. I did it because of you, because of our friendship and our relationship, and we're homeboys and so forth. So these kinds of conversations with conscious brothers and sisters asking the incredible and important and pinpoint questions that need to be answered. So it's going to take time. Again, if we didn't get this way overnight, it will take it's been several generations in the forming, right? The programming that we have been absorbing and have been addicted to from television, and now most importantly, and the most egregious, is social media.
You know,
Mhm.
that's interesting, Doc. It's something I want to add and lead into that, and I think it's a question that that we need to ponder over, and especially when we're looking at how other races, other ethnic groups look. I have a problem with that. How other folks, hey, y'all been over here all this time. Why ain't y'all all this opportunity over here? And this, you hear that all the time. But do these people really need to know our story? Because there's a psychological effect, emotional effect, epigenetic, genetic effect that takes place with all of this. But the question is, in your opinion, Doc, when you take away a Martin Luther King, a Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, a Stokely Carmichael, all those people like that, that's a part of your talented 10 per se, that's as far as your ethnic group is concerned. When you take away those individuals, how long does it take, or what effect does that have on the rest of the general population? How long it takes for you to recover? Because we're in this recovery mode. If those folks were still with us, where would we be as a people?
That's right. Wow. I've asked myself that same question in the quiet of my mind. Where would Black people be right now, today, right? In 2025, where would we be today if we had that? And I alluded to it earlier. If we had that level of consciousness and leadership visible and participatory in our culture right now, we would be 2 generations ahead of the timeline, the 100-year timeline, to get to where we need to be, all right, to level the playing field. That's where we would be. It's leadership, it's leadership, it's leadership, it's leadership. It's conscious leadership. And the ability, I mean, basically back then, you actually were putting your life on the line.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's how radical that was. Not only did it take a powerful articulation of the issue, but you were at risk. They're going to take you out, right? For all the reasons we talked about earlier, and you mentioned earlier, Ham. So it's less risky today, but it is still risky. And so, yeah, we would be, I said it would take 3 to 5 generations. We'd be 2 generations advanced in that 100-year climb. So yes, we miss them. And again, I don't know what and who has replaced them at that level.
Right.
Both of you have, to some extent. We're local. Me, I'm maybe regional, maybe national. But I certainly don't have the oratory skills of a Dr. King. I certainly am more cautious about protecting my life and my family and the responsibilities that I have to the culture. Yes, I'm leery of that. No question. I don't want to be taken out. Right? No question about it. And so, yeah, we would be much further along if we have that level of sacrifice, because that's real, that's leadership forward sacrifice.
That's
Right,
right.
because they sacrificed their families and they
Mhm.
were away all the time, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's and I don't know who to point to at that level in our culture in this country at this moment in time.
Well,
Mm.
Dr. Fraser, you're talking about levels, and earlier you talked about leadership from the bottom up. And I really do think that that's kind of where we are right now, simply because you can be a leader within a smaller realm.
Right.
I mean, you have an international platform, so people around the world know who Dr. George C. Fraser is. But there are some of us that don't have that same level of exposure, but we have an ability to affect those who are within our particular environment and within our
Absolutely.
particular world. And
Absolutely.
I think it's a combination of those who are leading from the top, so to speak, and those who are leading from the bottom. Because when you look around, there are people who are doing meaningful things and affecting lives in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And I do think that it's really on us to amplify and magnify those things that are being done. You
That's right.
interact with some of the most powerful people on the planet, and it would be an egregious thing for us to say that they're not effective in the realms in which they exist. So we have all these folks who are doing all these meaningful things, but I think we really need to know who they are and what they are doing. And I think you do a great job of
Yeah.
illustrating the fact that we have those folks amongst us.
Vince, that's a beautiful point. That's why of the 15 requests or so that I get a week, I chose you. Right? I chose you because I know what you're doing. I know what you and Hamp are doing. You're bottom up leaders. You're doing it in the culture, in the community, right? And you're using the tools of mass media. And if my appearance helps to expand the reach of this particular show, or Claude Anderson, or you pick anybody that helps to expand the reach, because we're celebrity oriented, you know what I'm saying? It is that we look at it as infotainment. Then I'm contributing to what you are doing. You're community based. That's extraordinarily important. But I wish I could say, and I can, that we have the critical mass of conscious community-based mass media impact that you have, right? We have a lot, but it's not nearly enough. And because you can't get the sponsorship dollars, you'll get some, but without question. You're not you can't get the, let's call them celebrity um, uh, brothers and sisters out here, you know, fighting the battle, the good fight. So you have to work to do that. So it's harder, but it's necessary. It's critically important. So it's the spider web, as you've heard and you've seen me do on my famous or infamous, depending on one's point of view, on Connect the Dots video that I did with the State of Black America with Tavis Smiley almost 13 years ago, right? We have to connect the dots. You're one of the dots, right? And without question, we need more. We need more. I wish I could replicate you in every urban center in America. All right. And there are great stuff being done in those centers, but it's still urban centers, but it's still not enough, obvious.
Right.
But it's better than it's ever been. And we must be thankful for that. And we have more tools than we ever had access to or ever had. So there's no excuses, right? No excuses. We got to use what we have, the way we use it, and just stay the course. That's when I sign books, and I've signed thousands of books. I only sign 3 words: stay the course.
Stay
the course.
But Doc, before we close out this segment of it, I just want you to I want to throw this out there. It's something that because we think about, let's go a little esoteric on dealing with the creator. And I threw this question out to Dick Gregory one time about seeing your ideas or your ideology come to fruition. Because sometimes if you're before your time, people looking at you like you're crazy, like, oh man, that ain't gonna happen. So I asked him a question about how would he feel, when those things come to fruition that you foretold about or what you talked about. But the Dr. Kings of the world, and it's a sad situation that they never seen their ideology or their thoughts come to fruition. So I'm looking at it as far as creator is concerned, and I'm a person about timing, and timing is important. Did you think that their message was there to keep the torch lit until the proper time for the people was ready to absorb the consciousness to move forward? You think that was their job? Because we're all sad that they got taken out and left here, but like we talked about purpose, was it their purpose to keep the torch lit, like the scribes on the temple walls in Egypt is there for us to remember, us, who we were and what we were doing? You think that kind of, I guess we can answer that on the other side.
Yeah,
Oh
because
my God,
we
that's
got
an
about
incredible,
30.
that incredible question. And I
Yeah.
have an answer to it, but I know we're gonna run out of time.
Yes.
But there's a book I wrote called Click: 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships. And the formula or the algorithm is chemistry, fit, and timing. Chemistry, fit, and timing. When those three things are in perfect alignment, that's when things click. So there's some things happening now that could not have happened when Dr. King and John Lewis and Medgar Evers could not happen. It was not the right timing. They did the exact thing that we needed at that time and risked their life for it, Medgar and Dr. King, right? But it was the right time to do it. That was the sacrifice that had to be made. So this is a different period of time where we have more tools, right? We have a larger body of conscious Black women and Black men, right? So and it's growing every day. We have programs like this in many urban communities, not enough urban communities, but it's timing. You're exactly right. So this is a new time and a right time. In fact, even in my time at 80 years, and talking the things that I wanted to talk about, I'm seeing many fruits of my labor. So
Okay,
I'm living to see them.
we got 15 seconds before
I'm
we
finished.
break. So I want to be quick and say that we appreciate our engineer, Tone Harley, for doing what he does. And we appreciate you for tuning in as always. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and make today your absolute best day. Peace, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. It's 12 o'clock noon right here on 360 Info Network, the YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn version of this program. You can go to Brother Hamtonio's channel, The Journey with Hamtonio. You can like, comment, and subscribe and get notifications on when he posts content. I get the notifications all the time because I'm one of his subscribers. So sometimes I watch 360 Info Network on The Journey with Hamtonio. You can also go to my YouTube channel and check out my show, Open Door with Vince Robinson, on that particular platform as well. We're also on 360 Info Network on Facebook, and we are on my LinkedIn channel. So we want to reach as many folks as we can. Also, if you didn't know, the radio station has a digital channel for WZAK. I think it's XD3. And there are over 3,000 people who are on that platform. So if you tune into our show on that program, you'll be able to hear us there as well. So there's so many different places that you can check out 360 Info Network. So again, we just like to have you like, comment, and subscribe and share these broadcasts. You know, we are very privileged to have a Dr. George Fraser in our community, someone that we can reach out, touch, have conversations with. But this brother is all over the world. We talked at the first part of the show about the 25th anniversary, and I don't want that to get away from us because this is very important work that you're doing. So you want to give folks a preview of what's coming up next year?
Yeah, our 25th anniversary for the Power Networking Conference will be in Atlanta in November of next year. If you would like a very special deep discount, Vince Hamp discount on that conference, get your ticket way in advance. You will get a 60% discount on the registration. So the registration is typically about $1,000. If you'd like to get it for $499, that's a 50% discount. Just email me at gfraser@frasernet.com, gfraser@frasernet.com. Put in the subject line, I'm in the body of the newsletter. Put your full name and your cell number, and I will personally call you and we'll handle our business over the phone. This is for the Power Networking 25th anniversary, November of next year. Get it while the tickets are still available. We sold out this year in Atlanta, so just get them now. And anybody that you know, this is good for anyone who's listening or want to share it with a family member.
Dr. Fraser, could you give us an idea of what takes place during the conferences? Because if the ticket on that is what it is, there has to be some value in it. People are going to invest in things that are worth it to them. So can you talk about perhaps some of the things that came out of your last conference and what folks can look forward to?
Yeah, it's full of the baddest brothers and sisters on the planet in 3 subject matters: building and managing wealth, building and managing our businesses, and effective networking. So what you'll come out of that conference with, and remember, they don't hide in a green room. They are out there in the audience. So whatever you see on the stage is available for you to meet and to get advice and counsel and mentoring and develop relationships with. So it's an incredible way, if you're looking to start or to build a business, it's an incredible way to get started, to launch a business, and to be around people who think like you. That's the big takeaway, because it's a networking conference. So that's what you want to be in the room. You want to meet the people that can help you get where you're going. That is absolutely the number one thing. You come there to meet powerful people, to do the things to fulfill your dreams, to build your business, to manage your wealth. We're there to help you. We pay no speaker. They come to serve the culture, right? 1 hour, they serve the culture. They do workshops, they do keynotes. We have panel discussions. Forbes magazine named it one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed. So you want to be in the place, in the space, and meet the people that can help you get where you're going. That's what it's about. It's invaluable. $499 is peanuts to what you would pay them to get the kind of advice and counsel on a professional level from them. So you got 4 days with them.
Yeah, I think it's one of the ways that you can step up your 5 friends too. If you make some good connections. Okay.
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
And there you go.
So, right. Dr. Fraser, I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier before, and you're talking about 3 or 4 generations from now, and you were saying that it's going to take time. But at the same time, we're living in an age in which things seem to be accelerating. So when you look at the impact that AI is having on business and the jobs that are being, just basically decimated by this artificial intelligence, things are moving really quickly. And then when you look at the generations after us, the Generation Zs, the younger folks who are technologically inclined, and I'm leading to a point. When we look at the world's financial system right now, it's in the midst of rapid change. We're moving from the SWIFT system to a blockchain-based system. And I know that you have had some exposure to cryptocurrency, and this is where I'm going with this. The younger folks, they're not afraid to put a wallet address in their phone and send some cryptocurrency to another wallet address. And they're not just doing it here in America, they're doing it in Africa. And I know this is important to Brother Antonio, because part of what we want to talk about today is Black folk in America doing business with Black folk on the other side of the world. And I think because of the way things are moving technologically, cryptocurrency is going to be a large part of that. So I'm just looking to see from you what your vision is for us being able to take advantage of these technological advancements, to do things like invest in Bitcoin and XRP and other tokens that are poised to grow significantly in value and allow us everyday people to grow some wealth, in addition to acquiring silver and gold and precious metals that are also accelerating in value and present an opportunity for us to grow wealth, intergenerational wealth that we can hand down to those who come after us. So what are your thoughts about how things are changing in the financial world and how we as a people can take advantage of those advancements?
Unlimited opportunity. Yes, I was involved in crypto when crypto was peanuts, right? Made a lot of money doing it, but it was unstable at that time. All of that is very stable now. All of it is very stable. Yes, I had Bitcoin, and I have, and I still have a wallet, and still have it, and made a small fortune from it. In fact, Dr. Quad David Whitaker and I are now invested in a platform that is trading on crypto, and we are doubling our money every 45 days. I started with $1,500 uh, 45 days ago. Right now, I just saw my wallet. I have $3,000. Within another 45 days, I'll have $6,000. It's doubling every 45 days. I don't know any investment, but it has to do with trading on crypto. So I've gotten a bunch of people involved. He's gotten his entire village involved in making this investment, doubling their money every 45 days. And it's legitimate. It's incredible. It's working. So you want to make wise investments, and you want to make it with people that you trust, people who are actually invested in the same thing that they're talking about. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in making that kind of where you double your money every 45 days, it doesn't matter how much you want to start with. I started with $1,500 and it's doubled in 45 days, and it will be $6,000 in another 30 days. So you just again, email me at gfraser@frasernet.com and just put in there trading, and in the subject, trade, and I'll get you invested and involved in that. So you've got to look for those, and you got to be careful, right? Because there's a lot of bogus BS out here, and there's a lot of things that don't really work, and there's a lot of scams out here. So we have vetted it, we've invested in it, and our money is doubled. And Dr. Whitaker's been in it for 8 months. He wanted to test it first. He then put me into it, and I've been in it for a couple of months. I've got a couple of other people. He's got his whole village in Otonqua, where he is an astute chief, involved in it. And so it's an incredible thing. You got to look, hunt, and peck for those kinds of opportunities with people that you know, love, respect, and trust. Know, love, respect, and trust. So I'm no new kid on the block at 80 years old. I vetted it as well. Certainly I love Dr. Whitaker, and when he introduced me to it, I said I got to vet it myself as well. He did. And it is an incredible thing. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to say, here's an opportunity. There are many. This is a vetted opportunity and a proven opportunity. So if you're interested, you know what to do.
Yeah. So
that's Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, I said, that's I'm working with Dr. Whitaker on that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I remember when we was trying to work through some technical stuff. I was on with him on the phone with you one time, that we was trying to get through some little computer little work that had to be done. But I don't know if he was taking the subject to another place there, Vince, but I wanted to zero in on the question of, my favorite subject, Africa. It was coming. How does that play into, is there, how does that connection, is it something that we should be looking at? What role does Africa play in our whole makeup of trying to come together economically, spiritually, culturally, and things of that nature? What's the benefits of linking up with Africa in this day? Do you see a promising future? But go ahead.
If I could just jump in right quick, I think what Dr. Fraser and Dr. Whitaker are involved in is the evidence of that.
That's right.
Because he said that the village is involved in that. So they're involved in the cryptocurrency. They're growing currency over there, and it's a position, because I don't want to put the business out there on Front Street, but that essentially has rescued our project, and commended Dr. Fraser. And
the village that we're building that rescued our project. No question
right.
about it.
And within that paradigm, again, when we talk about culture, and I wanted to mention this in the previous hour, you look at the concept of a susu. And the susu is the village coming together to bless somebody by everybody collectively contributing to a project and allowing that to grow. This is who we are. We talked about the impact of integration in the last hour. But we can also talk about times when we as a people were collective in our mindset, and we had Black Wall Street, we had Raleigh Durham, we had East 105th Street in the Gold Coast here in Cleveland. I mean, it's not something that's foreign to us, but I think really what it comes back to is that we have to remember who we are and what we are capable of, and make that connection with culture that allows us to be, watch this, Dr. Fraser, successful. Because we're making a collective effort. So, Brother Antonio, I know you want to change your focus.
But I love that. I love that question, man, because Africa is a gold mine. And I promise you, I won't be around to see it. You won't be around to see it. But in 2 to 3 generations, that it will be all that in a bag of chips. Now, we cannot get where we're going as Black people in America without the continent, without Africa, and they can't get where they need to go without us, right? We have the intellectual capital base, we have the resources, but we know that there's one big fly in the ointment. Africa must unify. Africa must unify, and ain't no white people interested in that happening. Under them, aside from us being, for all of us, from Africa, right? Under them are the most precious minerals in abundance in the history of humankind. There are probably as many Chinese in Africa right now, right, preparing and digging in those grounds than there are people in Cleveland. Okay, no question about it. It is a gold mine, no question about it. Everybody in the world understands that, and they're trying to either divide Africa, so that because that's European psychology, divide and conquer, and conquer. They ain't interested in us, 54 countries, 55 countries unifying with a single currency and the riches that lay under their feet. Are you kidding me? They will be all that in a bag of chips. It will take more time. It'll take, I believe, at least 2 to 3 generations before we see the unification of Africa. But once that happens, and it will happen, no question about it, it is destined to happen. We will be all that in a bag of chips, no question about it. And hopefully, pray to God that Black folk in America are deeply connected, have visited, have developed friendships, have opened small businesses, sisters, right? That happens. Game over.
Change the story, and that's the point that you hit it on the head, Doc. That's the point I've been trying to. I wanted you to say it because I'm out there touting it all the time and trying to get our brothers and sisters, and that was the question on. Yes, we dealing with the thing we doing in the village, but our business owners need to see that this outreach, that this vision. The Bible speaks about vision and the lack of vision and consciousness. We must have, if any investor, it's a risk. When any investment you make, it's a risk. And so my vision is seeing the story being told, just like you said, about future generations and this development and the consciousness and an awakening of some of the younger folks in Africa at this particular time. If you call yourself a investor, you deal with trends. You take a risk on those particular trends. And I'm saying what you just said, we should be getting a stake, so many words of that. If you're talking about preparing for future generations, like everybody else does,
That's right.
we may
And
not
that's
see it.
exactly what the three of us are doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're modeling the behavior that we expect from our people. There will be many who will listen. There will be many who won't.
Yes.
We
Yes.
bless them and release them. We move on. We stay the course because
Yes.
that's the vision. That's the future. And if
Yes.
I've been blamed for anything, it's because I have vision. Right, the books I've written, and I've had the discipline to commit my vision to writing.
Yes.
Right. So vision, you have vision. We have vision. We must have vision, and inherent in investment, inherent. The culture of investment is risk, and we are fearful of risk because, and it's a long standing thing because of what has happened to us psychologically and the risks that we've taken, and taking those risks and built Black Wall Streets all over America, then torn down and destroyed by them. Right. So we are reluctant to take risks because of a long standing history of the risks that we've taken and succeeded, right? And then to have it all destroyed and reclaimed, right? So we are fearful of risk, but we must get over that. We must get over that. The nature of investment is risk. Without that, you're not going to invest. Then you have to trust the people around you, right? So there's still a lot of self-hate in our culture. There's many we don't trust at the levels that we need to trust, right? Jews trust Jews, Asians trust. That's why they think Jews first. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do it with a Jew. Whatever I'm going to do, it's an Asian, I'm going to do it with an Asian. Now, Asians will take risks by building businesses in our community. No question about that. They're afraid of that. Eastern, right? They will take that risk because they see that we are consumers, right? We have a consumption mentality, right? So they understand that they can put products in our culture that in our communities that we will consume in spite of the fact we don't look like them, right? They're taking a risk, right? And they have done very, very well with that risk. I
Yes.
think we will do very, very well if we improve on the trust that we have in each other, and we move away from a safe mentality to having some semblance of risk baked into the algorithm of how we move forward. Yes, investing in Africa is a risk, no question about it. Investing in any damn thing is a risk. Investing in the dollar is a risk. Right? Right. So that's part of it. It goes with the territory. That takes maturity. It takes evolving. It takes trust, and it takes connecting the dots, and it takes unity. So, yes, Africa will get united. No question about it. Will not probably be in our lifetime like we are united here in the United States, like on the continent of China. Why are they so powerful? They are united. It's China. It ain't just Shanghai, it's China. Why is India so strong? It's united, it's one country. Not there's a lot of states in both of those. You can call them states or provinces, whatever you want to call it, but they are united. That's coming for Africa.
Well, I think another word that we need to bring into this conversation is courage. And the reason that I bring courage up is you look at that country called Burkina Faso,
There you go.
and you have a leader that has the courage to stand up to the Europeans and the colonialism that has taken place and
And the
take
French.
control of those resources, because the game plan that the Europeans employed was divide and conquer.
That's right.
And another thing that they did was they came in and they set up a paradigm where they could remove the resources, but not leave infrastructure for those who were there to have manufacturing facilities and to be able to benefit from the resources that are beneath their feet. So right now, what you're looking at on the continent of Africa is them pushing away from the Western influences, They're accepting assistance from the Russians. They're accepting assistance from the Chinese. They're getting things done, but at the same time, they're disassociating themselves with the dominance that the dollar has had. When you look at the BRICS, you got Brazil, Russia, India, China, but you also have South Africa, you have Saudi Arabia, you have the United Arab Emirates, you've got African countries that are lining up. And this is about de-dollarization. This is about them having a currency that's backed by commodity. It's about them upsetting the apple cart and choosing the ways that they engage in commerce. Back in 71, after what Kissinger did, you had the petrodollar. Countries around the world were coming to Saudi Arabia, getting that oil, and they were using US dollars for those transactions. Now they're using the yuan. Now they're doing other things. So I think we're seeing a certain coming together of African leadership. I agree with you. I think it's going to be generations away, but I think the reason that things change is because the young people become the leaders now, and they're not as beholden to the colonialization that the Europeans have pushed on them for so long. They're saying, no, we need to do things differently now. And then you have what Dr. Whitaker shared with us, and that is the changing of the population. The rise of Islam, the rise of people who see things a little bit differently now, and they're in Europe, and they're in Africa, and they're in America. I mean, look at the mayor of New York. He's not going to First Baptist Church on Sunday morning. So things are changing. I think, new leadership, young leadership, that's going to allow them to have that unity that allows Africa as a continent and as an organization of states to stand up and say, we're going to change the paradigm and push away from the exploitation that has occurred all these years. We're in a new age now.
That's right.
You've got young people who are inventing vehicles, who have been, we have been the creators all this time. We haven't been acknowledged for the things that we have done. America would not be what it is today had it not been for the things that we created. You can look at East 105th and Euclid Avenue and see the evidence of something that happened here that had an impact on the rest of the world, because that was the first traffic light. What would the world be without traffic lights? What would the world be without the refrigerators that we put our food in, that we invented? What would the world be without the light that illuminates us at nighttime because of something that a brother did?
That's
Or you see what I'm saying? I mean, we've been an integral part of it, and we will continue to be, because we were the first people on the planet, and we did create everything.
That's right. That's right. In fact, let me. That's so beautiful. I love what both of you are saying. We could talk for hours, actually. But let me say it simply. We are evolving. That's what we're doing. We're evolving. Right. We're getting a lot of the things out of the way that hindered our involvement. Death and punishment and enslavement. We are evolving as a people. In fact, Black women are the only women on earth with a mitochondrial DNA to produce any color of human being. Only Black women can do that. Only Black women can do that, which gives us understanding that we are obviously populated the entire human race. Okay, we're all that in a bag of chips, except most of us don't know it. So we are evolving, and we're learning how to deal with the more effectively and more efficiently and more with unity, the obstacles put in our way. Okay. Now let me riff for a moment on obstacles. You may have heard me talk about this. One of my favorite quotes outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 great Caesars, who said the following in 600 BC, before Christ. He said that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. In other words, where there is no obstacle, there is no way, right? What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you have prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacles. Make the mistakes and learn the lessons, and then apply those lessons to the next assignment, right? That's really what it's all about. So we are overcoming the obstacles. We are evolving without question. Obstacles do not block the path, my brothers and sisters. Obstacles are the path. There are only some things that you can learn in a storm. When there is an obstacle in front of you, it just simply means there's something you need to learn. Right? I eat obstacles for breakfast. Right? I love them. It means it's something I need to learn. So there are things that we need to learn. And there's trials and tribulations that we must get through, learn from those things. And then, as you alluded to earlier, then there's going to be someone like our brother in Burkina Faso who says, yeah, that's an obstacle, but I have a way around that. I have a mindset that will help me. I've evolved, right, to challenge that and to deal with that, right? And then he models it, right? So he's making Burkina Faso one of the great manufacturing centers of Africa. What will Africa ultimately become? One of the great manufacturing centers of the world, as China has become. One of the great manufacturing centers of the world will be manufacturing different things, but it will be a manufacturing thing because they have the labor, they're getting the training, they're getting the leadership. So it all takes time. We are evolving. We're not going to make the same mistakes that we made back then, right? There'll be new mistakes, but they will move us forward.
But Doc, let me ask the question. I'm going a little spiritual. Is it prophecy?
Yes. It is ordained. It will come back to the place / the continent that began the whole damn thing. Right? That began the whole damn thing. Who began humanity. And that's not theory, that's not hype, that's anthropological and biological fact. We'll come back to who started it all.
I think Dr. Barisha Day has given you a high five because she talks about the prophecy that Imhotep made years and years and years ago. And she says all the time that we will return to our glory. So that's the answer to Brother Antonio's question.
Absolutely. That deep question, then absolutely. Right? And we won't live to see the full evolution of that. Because we want to live long enough. Right? Right? But it will happen. It's beginning already.
Yes.
And it's beginning already. We've made our mistakes. We've learned from that. And it's just inevitable.
Now, hey, Doc, look, this is what I used to say. I mean, I'm getting over it now, but I used to, because of this time period, I used to say, is it a blessing or curse that I live within this time? You know, is it a curse that all of this is coming? Like I retired now, and I just can't go work in the garage and not worry about nothing and just putzing around and until in my transition. But I can't afford to be stable like that and unconscionable to what's going on around me and my surroundings. So I have to stay plugged into what's going on. So, but on the blessing side, Is it a blessing that we're like Dr. Brown said, we elected to come back at this particular time to push everything forward. So by us being in this position right now, is it a blessing to see the beginning stages of this turnaround we talking about?
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. You should write poetry, man. Let me say what you said a little bit different. First of all, you must understand we are healing. We are healing. Because if you don't heal what hurts you, you'll bleed on people that didn't cut you.
Okay.
Right? We were bleeding on each other, but we're healing.
I like that.
And we're gaining power. No question about it. Inch by, what's the old saying? Inch by inch, it's a cinch by the yard. It's hard, right? I choose to think positive about the incremental progress and mindset that many of us have adapted. Not all of us. We still have a lot of work to do, but many of us. It's the fact that we're having this conversation, this with brutal honesty, right, is a sign of healing. You see, the difference between school and life, school teaches you lessons that gives you and then it gives you a test. But life gives you a test from which you learn lessons. This is completely the opposite of school, right? So we have been tested and we're still standing. We're still freaking here in spite of what has been heaped on us. We are still here, still leading, still creating. We're some of the most creative people on the planet. There's been a hypothetical question asked in one of the popular magazines. What would America look like? And Vince, you alluded to it. What would America look like today without Black people? All right. So we understand this. And we are overcoming the obstacles. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard, right? You've got to find, and I think you find a path. I don't know if it's possible to find a path where there are no obstacles. No, that's just life. Welcome to life. You learn we're evolving. And that's their greatest fear. Believe me, that's their greatest fear. That's why they're going to kill the leaders. They're going to do everything they can, have done, and are still doing, right? To keep us separated and at each other as opposed to at them, right? So that strategy has worked for millennia, but it won't work going forward.
Well, you talk about evolving, and you mentioned the fact that you from Do or Die, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. Earlier in the week, I had the opportunity to interview a brother. He calls himself Brother Q. He's in Brooklyn, and he has a school called Ziax. It is a school that, like Wings Academy, has an African-centered curriculum. And this brother is cultivating engineers. They're actually having a science fair as we speak right now. It's K through 12. These young people are engaged in robotics. They're engaged in creating things for HVAC. I mean, they're using 3D printers. They're using bamboo printers, and one of the obstacles that this brother is dealing with is that he needs funding. He needs financial support. So what I'm sharing with him is that you need someone who's versed in grant writing. You need someone who has administrative strength to fill in the gaps, because you can't do everything.
No.
And you hit the nail on the head when you talked about relationships. Well, a very good friend of mine came to his school, saw what he was doing. She's there now. She's been teaching, and she's been teaching as a volunteer. But the reason that I'm bringing this up, because you talked about this whole idea of evolving. And I think we're evolving to a place where we understand that we can't depend on our oppressor to stop oppressing us and to educate us in a way that enables us to be free, liberated, economically successful folk. You know, the paradigm has been one of enslavement and debt for a lifetime. So we don't learn financial literacy. We don't learn the power of investing.
That's
We
right.
don't learn, long-term stuff because we want a quick turnaround. You
That's right.
know, we don't look at things at a long-term basis. We have to step back and take a macro look at the markets and understand how they function so that we don't come in when stuff is priced high, when everybody's talking about it, not when it just comes into being and people are putting their ideas together and getting it running and don't have a whole bunch of market cap, because that's the game. You get involved in projects on the front end, and then when they become aware by everybody, like the Amazons, like the Microsofts, like the Apples, people find out about them after the money has already been made, and then they jump in, and then it goes down a little bit, and they say, "Oh, I lost my money." But the problem is, somebody talked about timing earlier, and it's not about timing the market, but it's about being aware and understanding how it works so that you can do what capitalists do, and that's capitalize.
That's what's going to happen in Africa.
Well,
With most,
it's actually
one time for most black people,
yeah.
they're going to be late. I'm sorry to cut you, Vince, but they're going to, until they see it on TV and everything is all set up, that's when we're going to come running. Most of them.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
I'm thinking about the young brothers from Earn Your Leisure. They have a YouTube channel, and they're really deep into finance, and they're over in Ghana, and they're building these communities. I mean, again, the things that we're talking about, there are things that are in place now, and there are things that are growing, because now we're beginning to see that, you can go there and you can make better use of your money. I mean, you go to Ghana, and the exchange rate, it used to be 16-1, maybe now it's 10-1, but your money goes a lot
Almost 12.
further. Yeah, and in other places in the world, you can live a lot better on the money that you earn here in America. So really, it's about us having a global awareness and not being stuck in any one place. Dr. Whitaker is over there enjoying the fruits of 82 years of labor.
That's right.
Because he knew how to do and what to do, And so these are things that we can do. It's not about being stuck here in Cleveland, not that it's necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But, some of us can lay on the beach and enjoy the sunshine in the dead of winter because we've created a life that enables us to do that.
Let me say this, Vince. How many of us got the consciousness or the mindset or the fortitude to even think or conceptualize owning property in another country?
Not
Right.
me.
That's not even, even thought of, you know what I mean? Or having places like that. Because I thought about creating my own timeshare situation with a group of people. You got an apartment here in this country, apartment there in that country. We all pay $150, $200 a month, and we can go to these countries and have a place to stay. Having that kind of vision, but we can't conceptualize because they don't put so much negative imagery and stuff about Africa and going. And like Dr. Fraser said, why is all these people in Africa then? But we're going to be Johnny come lately, and when it's all set up and pretty and they put the nice marketing campaign on TV, now we're going to come running, and I'm trying to do what I can to avoid that.
Yeah, no, you want to get ahead of the curve.
Yes.
Two things. Black people think very different than white people. I wrote about this in Success Runs in Our Race. We have a different worldview than white people, and we think differently. So I'm going to read something from the book. It's in the book on page 63 if you don't have it. What is the Eurocentric worldview? Order is imposed by the stronger force. The stronger force gains the advantage by ordering the universe as it wishes. That's a Eurocentric worldview.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeply embedded in their consciousness. What is an African-centered worldview? The universe is active and alive, and the laws of nature reveal its inherent order as well as the Creator's divine laws, their divine laws. Now, that's worldview from an African-centered perspective. Now, thinking. This is the thinking. What is Eurocentric thinking? Survival of the fittest promotes a drive for mastery and control of nature and the accumulation of possessions. That's how white folks think, right? What is African-centered thinking? How do we think? There is a oneness of all things. Life is primary and must reflect a divine nature. Now, group maintenance, collectiveness, and sharing are essential. We think entirely different than white folks. Now, money is the mother's milk of all intentions. Without money, all you have is a good damn intention. When money speaks, no one checks the grammar. When money speaks, no one checks the grammar.
Mm-hmm.
So someday, as we evolve, we will put as much emphasis on money as we put on entertainment, right? We will own stuff. We will not just produce for others to own who make the real sustainable money. We're evolving. We are creative by nature, and we understand that it is unity that is the real power.
Absolutely.
And this is extremely important. This is we're evolving. We're seeing and we're evolving. We're moving quietly in different directions. We're building more trust, and we're taking more risk. A small portion of us.
Mm-hmm.
But that risk that you're demonstrating, I'm demonstrating, Dr. Qua's demonstrating, right? That will become the new models, not the models of consumption.
I see.
Right.
I see your point.
But
Mm-hmm.
right, it's about building and owning. That's done through unity and consciousness that comes from and through the, let's call it the critical mass of our people. Right now, our thinking is not critical mass yet. We're moving in that direction, but we're evolving. And that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We have a place to go. We have a continent, a rich continent.
Waiting on you.
Waiting. There you go, Ham. Waiting on you. No question about it. So it's not like we're looking for land like Israel had to look for land. No, 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 no. We have a land, right? Right? The wealthiest land that God has ever created. Right? So it's waiting on us. We just have to get to that, and that will take time, right? But we're moving in the right direction. And so we have to stay positive about that. Now, yeah, and Vince, you said something earlier. I love it. Yeah, I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. Make no mistake about it. Don't get it twisted. They say if you're from Bed-Stuy, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster. In fact, if you were at the Power Networking Conference this year, we were selling black T-shirts that said "gangster" on it. Right now, under that though, under the word "gangster," I had two-word sentences under it. All earned, never given. I'm with James Brown. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Just you open up the door and I'll get it.
Get it myself. Mm-hmm.
right? We got it like that. They know that, right? So their meta strategy, divide and conquer. That works. Divide and conquer. Pit them against themselves. You don't ever want them to unify, right? Because they got it like that, and they got the land to prove it.
Mm. Yep. In all wars. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. And so we're evolving.
Mm.
They're going to do everything they can to truncate that evolution, but we ain't going for it. We have learned this is an obstacle, right? It's in our way. We will just find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle.
Mm.
That's all it is. It's one obstacle after another, but we will get there.
And the
You
learning
must
process.
die thinking that. You must die saying that. You must die modeling that.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Because you just look at the trajectory between 1900 and 2000, right? Enormous differences.
Mm-hmm.
Enormous evolution. We're smarter. We're more educated, right? And you mentioned something about engineering. Yes. You want to know what China's secret is? Every year, Google it. China graduates from college 300,000 engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they getting their education from? Right here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
300,000 Chinese engineers
right.
are graduated every year. So engineering, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's
that
huge.
it's
We're
the
evolving.
key. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It's the key, and you know, it's something that we really needs to be looking at, and then I think that all is wrapped up in our vision. When you're at war, see, we don't know the game. We haven't learned. We forgotten the lessons that was learned through past, folks who came before us. They taught us the lesson, but I think we lost the lesson because they entertained us and put so many insignificant things in front of us. We lost the lesson. But they show you that in war, when they make those little army pictures on TV, what is the first thing they try to do? They try to wipe out the lines of communication.
That's right.
If they can control the communication, and you're not talking to each other, you're not sharing with each other, you're not networking with each other, then they can plot out you individually because there's no collective effort to do anything.
That's exactly right. But we're breaking those barriers. We're evolving, and I can't even imagine what the culture will look like. Uh, in 2, 3, 4 more generations. The other thing is now this engineering thing.
Mm.
What do you think made ancient Africa the greatest country on the planet? Our engineering prowess. We were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other and practicing cannibalism. Our they still can't figure out
Right.
how we built a pyramid 3,000 years ago. They can't figure that out. Engineering. That's what got us our glory and still stands to this day. Engineering. And we were the first with the math and the sciences and building edifices that they can't imagine. That was done 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think, when you look at some of the previous civilizations, they were actually more advanced than we are now. That's why we can't explain how they did what they did, but what the Europeans have done is they positioned themselves in such a way to make it seem like they know everything, when everything that they know, they got from us. I mean, you look at George G.M. James and Stolen Legacy.
That's right.
You look at the destruction of Black civilization. You know, our scholars have documented the fact that we knew what we knew, and they appropriated what we knew, and now they want to convince the world that it was their idea.
Yeah.
You know, just like the Pythagorean theory. I mean, it was Imhotep's theory, but Pythagoras was given credit for it. I don't necessarily want to say he even took credit for it.
Right.
He was given credit for it, but it was something that actually came from us. I wanted to point out something that I just recently found out about. It's National Security Council Memorandum 46. And it was signed during the administration of President Jimmy Carter. And we look at Carter as being, you know, one of our favorite presidents because it seemed like he had so much compassion for us. But National Security Council Memorandum 46 was actually created to drive a wedge between Africans and African Americans.
Is that right? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
it was. I was astounded when I found out about it. Zbigniew, his name is Zbigniew Brzezinski, and it was about addressing U.S. policy toward the Black movement in Africa, focusing on influencing internal divisions and preventing radical ties. This was during the Carter administration.
Wow.
You look at things that Kissinger did, you know, the Heritage Foundation that's so prominent now as a result of the election cycle that we just had. Well, they were in full effect back then. You know, I'm sure you remember, Dr. Fraser, what happened when Reagan took office and the paradigm shift that we saw then, you know, and then we had a Democrat presidency, and then it came back to the Bushes, and then, you know, you see a reinstitution of the things that the Republicans stand for. You know, it's cyclical, and it's like we have this two-party system. Interesting fact. I had a conversation with a sister from Colombia yesterday, an interview that I did for another show. And she was talking about the two-party system in Colombia. And she said that they alternate. They go back from conservative to Republican. I mean, conservative to liberal, conservative to liberal. And it just seems like when you're going back and forth, how can you make any progress when you're restarting everything every 4 years? I mean, it's the perfect prescription to prevent progress.
Right.
And when she shared that with me, I'm like, well, dang, that's the same thing that's happening here in America. And it's probably the same thing that's happening in other countries in the world. They have this up and down, and you can never move forward because you have all this adversity. You don't have cooperation. I mean, if you just look at the government shutdown that we've experienced, and you look at the fact that the Democrats were holding fast, we gonna hold the line because we want to stand up for those benefits that came through Obamacare, and we want to extend those things. And then the eight most vocal people about it capitulated and reversed course and said, okay, well, you know, we'll let you all give us an opportunity to vote on it down the road. If you control the House and you control the Senate, what good is a vote when you've got control of the votes? Democrats don't have control of the votes, you know, but those same
moment.
Yeah, but those same folks, they have those arguments on the House and the Senate floor, and then they go to the cafeteria and eat lunch with each other.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is not about us, but we have this illusion that those people represent our interests when in fact they don't represent our interests. They represent their own interests, and they will have their pensions, they will have their health care, and they will have all the benefits that come from representing us, but they're benefits that we don't have because we're just asking them to give us what we need, but they control the purse strings. They're running the deficit up. They're going to print money. You know, they just restarted quantitative easing as of December 1st. You know, so now they're going to start printing more money, debasing our currency. We're going to experience inflation like we've never seen it before. And in the meantime, they're stacking gold, they're stacking silver, they're stacking Bitcoin, they're creating strategic reserves, strategic asset reserves, and they're setting everything up for their own success. And that's why I'm saying we got to learn the game, execute the game, and grow our wealth at the same time, because what we're witnessing right now is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the planet. You know,
Well, we think they're gonna have a come to Jesus moment. We're sitting back like Dr. Fraser said in the beginning, and nobody's coming to save us but ourselves. So, and we're looking at, I mean, we're hoping like they're gonna have a come to Jesus moment and open up the books and share power with us.
No.
Why would they ever do that though?
White folks don't hate us. They fear us. They fear that if we ever accumulated the power and resources that they have or stole, that we would do to them what they did to us. But we don't roll like that.
We don't roll like that. Yes,
We ain't
don't.
built like that. We don't have that worldview. We don't think like that. We would not. Right? So they really fear us. 7% of the 8 billion global population is white people. 93% are people of color. But yet 7% controls
How did that happen?
30+% of the global GDP. What's wrong with that picture?
Yes.
And it is the result of their worldview and how they think and their fear. They are inferior. I mean, right? If you think about it, they just know how to play psychological games.
Yes.
And use weapons of war for intimidation. But 7% are them and 93% are us. So I believe that China and Eastern and India are beginning to fully understand that. They and Africa will come along as the third big landmass in the world. So things are going to change. They already have changed, not to the extent that they will change, but they're going to. That 7% of the global population is doing everything it can to mitigate that.
That's right. That's right.
Just what it is, right? And again, it's not theory, right? You just look at the metrics, right? And look at the results. So it's not some figment of our imagination. It's not so much hate, it's fear. And let me say this and still be loved. They should be scared. They should have fear. They know what we're capable of. Probably a sub issue is we don't know. Ancestors knew because they did the damn thing. Right? But we have been so psyched out, so minimized, so our image so destroyed that not only does it impact or infect or effect or affect how white people see Black people, it is also infected how we see ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's a
dag in the heart right there.
That's a heavy duty mindset, man. That's a heavy. Woo.
Yes.
That's the worst right there. You know how you see yourself. That's the worst. If it's in a negative image, that's it.
Game over.
Right. Well, I want to bring things back to something that we talked about before the show began, and that was one of the secrets of the success of Dr. George C. Fraser. And what he shared with us before we came on the air was that he had a conversation with Tony Brown. Tony Brown is one of the most important figures in the history of broadcasting in the United States. And he was able to effectively educate the masses of people on things that were important to Black people in America and around the world. And what he shared with Dr. Fraser was that he is into herbs and supplements. And that conversation resulted in Dr. Fraser adopting a process or a practice of supplementation. So before we leave today, I just want you to share what Tony Brown shared with you, and share it with us so that we can get the benefit of being on the planet 4 score and looking as good and being as energetic as you are.
Thank you, Vince. Tony Brown, very close friend of mine. 40 years ago, I invited him to participate when I was doing Success Through Networking events in Cleveland. Greg and I did them for about 5 years, and he was one of the speakers. So he'd come to Cleveland, and we did some, socializing, and he was off by himself doing something, and I noticed that he had a little pill box with him. And he was taking these pills. And so I asked him, I said, Tony, what is that about? He said, well, we travel, we don't eat well, we don't get all the supplements that the body really needs to sustain itself. So I supplement those minerals that we need by taking these natural minerals that you can buy in the drugstore. So everything from turmeric to calcium to magnesium. He just gave me a whole list of things. It was about 15 or 16 things at that time. And I took a note. And from that day forward, every single day, 7 days a week, for 40 years, I take 28 natural supplements and herbs every single day in the morning. It's I cannot go anywhere without doing that first. 40 years straight, every day, 7 days a week. And I attribute that. Now, Tony Brown is still living in his hometown. He's 90 plus years old. And if you heard Tony Brown speak, he would sound just like he sounded back in the day when he was all that in Black media, American media. And I attribute that to the way I feel, the way I look, although my hair is gray, but at 80 years old, that's a good thing. Right. I have hair.
Right.
So it is that regimen, because without your health, you have nothing. Let's just make it plain, right? Your health is everything. It is what fuels our ability to get any damn thing done. It's what gives us energy. It what feeds our internal organs what they need to thrive. That's basically what it is. And so I attribute to the way I feel, the way I look, the way I sound, to adapting that, learning it from Tony Brown, adapting it and building on it, because supplements have evolved as well. There are additional supplements natural supplements that you can take, and herbs that you can take that will enhance all of that. So that's one of my secrets, because I'm asked that question all the time when I'm standing at a podium. Well, how do you manage to, walk and talk, and what's your secret? And I tell them the story. And then, of course, you asked me a wonderful question, Vince, and so I am now morally committed to do it, because the question has been asked, Doc, could you give me a complete list of each supplement that you take and the megagrams of each of those supplements, because they come in different sizes. And I just never took the time to go to my little place where I have all my supplements at home in my bathroom, and just write down every single one and the number of and then the cost per dose, because I think people would be very interested. So, for example, I'll buy a bottle of, let's say, calcium pills or magnesium pills. There might be 50 in it, right? But it costs me $20 for that bottle, right? Now, don't worry about the $20. What you want to do is figure out what is the cost per dose. So all I do is divide 50 into $20, right? And it's pennies. That's really what it comes down to. If you aggregated all 20 plus supplements I take every day, the daily dosages would probably be under $1. Now, is it worth $1 a day or $1.50 a day to be in the peak of your health at 80? My answer to that would be, oh, hell to the yes. Oh, hell to the yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because that's all we're talking about.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about $1, $2 a day. Is it worth it? Right? You may not think it's worth it when you're 40, but when you get 80, you really understand the
Yeah,
value of that
absolutely.
investment.
Yes.
And that's what
Yes.
investment is about, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about being patient and accruing the long-term value of that investment.
That's right.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you for sharing that with us, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open for that list when it comes about, and let us know. I mean, we can.
In fact, you want to encourage me, Vince? Send me your email.
Mhm.
One email that will remind me I owe you this.
Mhm.
The next email you get from me will be that list.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then we'll take the next step and we'll share it with folks so that they know what
There you
those
go.
things are.
That's
And
right.
then they can
Absolutely.
take
And
advantage
I'll
of
do
that.
it too. I mean, I will do the same thing. Absolutely.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yes. Well,
Sometimes we need there's a thing called the KITA, KITA system of management. The KITA system of management. The KITA stands for kick in the ass. That's what it is. Right. So you just so I've been procrastinating, and I'm going to do it.
yes.
Mhm.
Well, I just want to thank you, Dr. Fraser, for being consistent. I'm one of the folks that's in your text message chain. And so we get a lot of inspirational and informative stuff from you and the others who are participating on that platform. I think Dr. Charles Modlin is another person that's involved in that platform. So we get a lot of great information from you. And even though you're at the age of 80, you are effectively utilizing social media and all the things that are part of our success. I look at you and I look at Dr. Whitaker, and I fully embrace the whole idea of JEGNA. And I'm just saying to you that it's a privilege to know you, and it's a privilege to be able to have this conversation. Before we conclude our broadcast, is there a gem or a pearl that you want to share with us before we depart, and then we'll hear from Brother Antonio?
Yes. Let me see how much time we have. Okay. All right, so I want to say the next thing and still be loved for all of us, those who are fortunate enough to be watching today. I want to say this to you, that you are fortunate to be able to die. Now, what do I mean? It means that you have overcome millions to 1 odds, millions of sperm cells going up the tube of your mom. One of them is strong enough to break away and impregnate the egg in your mother. And you were born. Understanding that the human species, as we know, the human species is 300,000 years old. So if you're 50 years old, it took 299,950 years for you to appear. And you're one of a kind. There will never, ever, ever, ever in the history of humankind be another you. You are fortunate to be able to live and to be born. And when you're born, you're given time. Time. When the Buddha was asked, what is the biggest mistake that humans make? The Buddha replied, the biggest mistake that humans make is to think they have time. It's like I blink my eyes and I'm 80 years old. You're not killing time. Time is killing you.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, time is the only currency you spend without knowing the balance. I will say any day, do anything but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to allow you to waste it. This certainly hasn't been a waste of time by any stretch of the imagination. So that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Spend your time wisely.
Thank
And
you.
your body of work will demonstrate the use of that time.
Very good. Yes. Mm-hmm. And
That's a
utilizing it.
hard thing to follow, Brother Antonio. Hard
Yeah,
thing to
yeah.
follow.
Absolutely. And all I can do is add to that for sure. It's just the time and something you never get back. They say use it like, and like there's no tomorrow, and do things that you can do to, don't put off what you can do today. So it's all about time. And I would just say, again, in validation, Dr. Fraser, culture and history, that is the key to a lot of our shortcomings, and Dr. Whitaker said that it's a perfect marriage between us and the Africans. We have some of the knowledge and things of that nature, but we lack the cultural unity.
That's right.
And they have the cultural unity over there and lack some of the resources and the knowledge that we might have, be able to relate to them over here. So it's a perfect relationship. So study.
Yeah, it is. They have the human capital.
Mm-hmm.
We have, to a great extent, the intellectual capital. So when you put intellectual capital with human capital, you get massive progress.
Massive progress.
And so that's why I said we will not exist without Africa, and Africa will not become or maximize its full potential without us. It's both. It's both. So it's a beautiful thing to understand. And then if you have not been to the continent, any of those of you who are listening or watching, you owe it to yourself to visit. People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, if there was one place that I could go in Africa for the first time, what country would you recommend? This is a personal opinion. Take a trip with Tony Browder to Egypt. It will change your whole freaking life. You will understand who you really are. When you walk into the Valley of the Kings and visit those tombs and you look at the paintings on the wall, you'll understand who you really are.
Yes.
Right on. Right on.
Yes. I want to add to your list of folks to go to Egypt with. One of our scholars, Professor Manu Ampim, very versed in the history of Egypt, Sudan, and that part of the world. And I will also add Brother Taki Grant. We just had him on the show, I believe, last week, week before. It was week before last, and doing some incredible things, an amazing knowledge of Kemet and the dynasties and everything. I really had a chance to pick his brain in the last hour of that show, and he shared with me some profound wisdom about our history.
Yes. And I only mentioned Tony because that's who I chose to go with. So you're right, but there are a number of wonderful brothers and sisters that do that. So there's no excuse.
Yes,
you have options. Yeah.
And before you go, read his book. Tony Browder's book.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
About
great, because it's easy to read too. You know, it's
Yes.
very, very easy to read. So yeah, Tony is well, one of the advantages I think that Tony has, at least from my perspective, is he was a cultural anthropologist in Egypt for years. And in fact, he's the only Black American with a dig.
That's right. The only one. Yeah.
The only one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah. So, you know, it doesn't matter who you choose, just go there.
Yeah. But do yourself the favor and do some research before you get there so that you don't come completely naked. It really helps if you know a little bit.
Oh yeah. You can do Tony's books. There's a number. They came before Columbus and all kinds of stuff. There's a number of books that you can read. They're all available, and they're all worthy. And yes, you're right. You have some orientation. Don't go there with zip. Right. Because you'll ask better questions.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna put Hey, I'm gonna say this real quick and put and for a disclaimer, put them on notice. If your Bible scholarship will be challenged if you go. So if you don't for Bible scholars, don't go over there. Your heart might hurt or get broken when you go over there.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And good warning, him.
Right. Yeah. And I will add to that, because I had the benefit of going to Egypt before I went to Ghana, but I appreciate Egypt so much more after going to Ghana.
Yes.
You know, so there are a number of countries on the continent. You got 54 countries to choose from, but Egypt is at the top of the list, and I would say Ghana as well, because when you go to Ghana, you definitely feel welcomed, and you get a chance to experience history. You know, I had a conversation with someone earlier in the week about the door of no return in Senegal, Gorée Island.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her that, well, there's a door of return at the Cape Coast dungeon in Cape Coast. You know, so to complete the cycle, go back and walk through the door of return and see how you feel after you do that. So
yeah, and you can't go one right. Egypt, especially, but Ghana as well. You can't go just once. It's just too, you'll be overwhelmed.
Yes,
right. You'll be overwhelmed. So you really need to go back. I think I've been 4 times. And every time was like a fresh time. You know, we took ferries to various other spots around Egypt, and so it's culturally, it will change you.
Yes. So with that said, I'm intending for you to have another 80 years, Dr. Fraser. You know, keep taking those.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm rooting for you.
And just to let you know that we really appreciate your time with us today. You know, we talked about currency and time and how important it is. And this was definitely 2 hours and 22 minutes that were well spent. So thank you for that. Thanks to Brother Hamtonio for creating this platform that enables us to do what we're doing now.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone who has been a part of this broadcast today. If you haven't already done it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and like this, share it with someone, because, you know, having Dr. Fraser on means that we're going to get a few views. So share this so we can get those numbers up. And again, we appreciate you.
And join us at the Power Networking Conference in November in Atlanta next year. We have an African-centered opening, by the way. I didn't mention that, but I know this is very African-centered. We every year at the conference, we want to ground people in first for the 4 days in our Africanness and how powerful we really are. So we have drummers and we have elders, and, you know, the whole, and then we have Tony Browder gives a lecture on the continent, and so
that's good. That's good. I like that, Doc. Thank you. That's good. That's good.
We've been doing it for 24 years.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Yeah. This will be year number 25. What is that? Is that the silver anniversary? The 25?
Silver. That's right.
Yeah. How timely as we see silver at $67 an ounce. How timely.
That's
right.
right.
Yeah, you know, who knows? By the time we get to your conference, it'll be $120 an ounce, and
That's right.
everybody will be celebrating, especially
right.
if you have some.
And if you
As
want to make
always,
an investment, if you want to make an investment, as I mentioned earlier, I think when the first hour, with us, and double your money every 45 days, and just email me gfraser@frasernet.com. And
I'll,
just
I was gonna say that to you, Doc. I was gonna say, don't forget to trade. It was about time.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Okay,
right.
we'll put that information in the description for this video, and folks will have access to it if they want to jump on board. But with that, we will say, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace, everyone.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you.